Hello, welcome to the Open Banking World Congress, live from Marbella 2022. My name is Marie Walker. I'm co-founder and head of content for Open Future World, the organizer of this event. And I'm delighted to be joined by two representatives of a very distinctive consultancy, Radium, who have been at the forefront of open banking since its inception. And I'd like to introduce you to Barry O'Donoghue and Liz Cruz, and I will let you guys introduce yourselves. Barry, would you like to tell us who you are?
Sure. My name is Barry O'Donoghue. I'm co-founder and COO at Radium, and it's great to be here.
Wonderful. And Liz, what's your role?
Hi, I'm the product manager of the Enterprise Trust Platform, which is our ecosystem.
Fantastic. I love the word ecosystem. It's all about API
It is, yeah.
So I know Radium is quite a distinctive company. Barry, perhaps you can introduce Radium to our audience and explain why it is that you guys are a little bit different from some of the other service providers, agencies, consultancies that are out there.
Indeed. So our focus is enabling and establishing ecosystems for data sharing that can be secure and that can be trusted. So whilst many of the players at the conference seem to be focused on API consumers and API providers, the banks and other parties, and maybe intermediaries and related services, we focus at the center. We help the central banks, we help the regulators, we help those that wish to get a data sharing ecosystem off the ground. And we do that in probably three different ways. To start with, we focus on standards, right? So we have developed open, international, API security, technical standards in conjunction with the OpenID Foundation and as part of the financial grade API working group. That's quite a lot to take in, so I'll elaborate. But that's where we start, standards. And we've been at the core of the standards effort with the FAPI working group for 4 or 5 years now. And what began in the UK and our work with Open Banking Implementation Entity has been adopted more globally, and it's been applied to Brazil and to other markets very successfully. So it's the gold standard. Radium has held the pen for those ecosystems, both in the UK and Brazil, on the security side of things, which is really hard. Authorization, registration, consent, certificates. This is our specialist area. So we have developed and contributed, and they are open and they can be adopted internationally, and they are being adopted at scale. Secondly, we provide uniquely the trust platform technology that underpins the entire ecosystem for all the participants. So what is that? Instead of something for the API consumers or the providers, it's for the central bank. It's a control plane to have all of the regulated entities registered so that they can discover one another, that they can create their software, that they can obtain certificates, and thereafter can interact securely and safely with one another. So we focus on that. Again, the origins of that is our work in Open Banking UK, the implementation entity, and what's affectionately known as the directory. So we have reimagined that trust platform as a commercial offering that we now provide to other regulators internationally, most notably in Brazil with the Central Bank of Brazil and also SUSEP with insurance. And what's interesting is that what took the UK some time to figure out as the first player, we've been able to really get down in terms of times from 6 years to 6 months to now 6 weeks with the latest. So we're getting really fast at this. Thirdly, it's assurance. Assurance is about ensuring that all of the providers have got conformant implementations aligned to the standards. How do we do that? We build reference implementations for providers and consumers, and we automatically validate that all the providers in the ecosystem, and especially a large one like Brazil, this is a critical success factor. So we operate that as a service. We didn't expect really to have to help in that way, but that's become a very key enabling factor for any successful ecosystem. So they're the three key ingredients for successful data sharing at a national level. And that's really what's allowed Brazil to rapidly realize its open finance vision.
And such a success story. We've been tracking the progress of Brazil. There's a wealth of information on the Open Future World website of what we think has been the most interesting developments. And you reminded me when you were talking about FAPI that actually I was honoured to be the first person to interview, I think it was Gavin Littlejohn and Don Thébault at this event in 2018, 17, announcing FAPI standards. So brilliant to have it described in such great detail about how the importance is these days. Liz, so ecosystems, one thing I'm very interested in is how these ecosystems can emerge, and not just within financial services. So are there other entities, any other sectors other than banks that can benefit from financial grade API security?
Yes, absolutely. Opening up your data is a universal requirement regardless of your sector. So, and you need to open this up without increasing your commercial risk. So we have developed the technology and started to offer it to our enterprises, so organisations large and small.
And I think you guys are working with telcos and utilities, and is there any limit to the different sectors that this could move to, or is it anybody with consumer or corporate data?
Yes, literally anybody can use this. So it's so flexible, and what we've done is try to configure the platform so that people can have the customer experience that they expect. We had a very fixed customer experience for regulatory. The feedback we've had from our customers, our enterprise customers, is actually they're looking for something with a lot less friction, so to onboard, and actually they want to make the actual platform a bit easier. So we've created various wizards so that the platform is as easy to use as it can be.
Great. So what are the next developments in data sharing ecosystems that you guys are seeing or expecting to see?
I think I would say what's happening at a national level with regulated data sharing is now moving to enterprise. So where regulation stops, the enterprises need to take it forward, right? And private ecosystems, discretionary plays, premium APIs, and going beyond the regulation to really have a competitive platform-based business model that allows others to build on your services. So that applies to any business, any sector. It's multi-sector, it's sector agnostic, multi-industry, and it's actually data agnostic. This is not just financial services. Financial services, they're familiar with the dynamics and how this all works. They've built and invested in the technology stack. So they're ready to think about the next step. Other industries are maybe less well advanced. They haven't had the regulatory mandate. But actually, there's a common need for, as part of the API economy, to enable these propositions and to enable consumers to share their data for new value chains from their perspective, right? And potentially for innovation and competition in markets globally.
Yeah, it's centered around the consumer. I was very childishly excited when we developed our original logo, where we actually split the O of open and put a consumer in the middle.
Nice.
What we did.
Very clever.
Nice.
So we're nearly out of time. I just want to touch on one more thing, and that's the work of GAIN.
Sure.
So I was very honoured to be asked to be a signatory to the GAIN paper a year ago, and today you guys have announced the next iteration, the next stage in the journey, and it's all about interoperability and broader than the assured identity that you started out with. Can you just give us a quick summary of the announcement today?
Sure. I guess it began a year ago with a white paper, 150 global authors. It's a pro bono, no logo, open document that proposes a very bold ambition to have essentially ecosystems of ecosystems. So, for example, a TPP in Brazil could potentially consume data from a provider in Australia and provide it to a consumer, some other place, perhaps. So, GAIN stands for Global Assured Identity Network. It's about global level interoperability building on the standards base that we've already got to work with. So this is not about reinventing and having some new overarching. This is about building on what's already been built. And these mature ecosystems that are deployed and being able to provide what was described at a recent conference from the OpenID Foundation as the connective tissue between different ecosystems, such that should they want to allow that interreliance, that there is a framework that enables that, be it data sharing, be it identity, be it payments. And that really is not, I think, is important to sort of explain, it's not a central entity or some player that's trying to monopolize. It's a movement. It's a group of collaborators trying to facilitate and enable this to be a reality.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, guys. We'll leave it there. The conference is now actually at its conclusion at this point, so I'm desperate for a gin tonic.
Yes, likewise.
It's been a pleasure having you here for the last couple of days, and thank you very much for joining me and talking to our virtual audience.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.